Hey, what's up, Liron here. In this episode of Painting Masters, we'll look at works by Graham Barry. Now, it took me a while to get to this artist. He's an English painter and illustrator, now retired and focusing on watercolor, which is what we're going to focus on today, obviously. It's my favorite. And his work is mostly figurative. If you'll notice, you'll see the paintings I'm going to share with you in a few moments. It's just so good. Something about the colors and the way he arranges them together, and the temperature is so clever and so smart. And it's actually one of my favorite all-time in terms of final finished look of the painting. And it's funny because usually figurative or people it's a subject I like, but my favorite is always landscapes and with different atmospheres and even cityscapes. So not as much of a figures, but this does incorporate some cityscapes, as you'll see, but just a really interesting artist I think we'll all benefit from. So let's get started. So there's no better way to start this one than this particular painting. It's just so good. Now, take a moment just to soak it in, because I had to do that as well. Look at all the details. Look at all the different areas of the painting. So much going on, and it's expressed in the most beautiful of ways. So I'm going to get started with the most obvious thing, which is the temperatures. You can see a lot of variation from this red umbrella all the way down to those blue purpley shadows. So much going on in that regard. Now let's talk about injecting colors like everywhere, because his work, if you look at this guy's shirt, he has a bit of yellow there, a bit of purple or red within the blue. This woman here has a bit of that, magenta or quinacridone red added to the blue shirt. Something he does very often is look at the shadows, varying these. It's just beautiful. Nothing here is boring. Everything you can stop and stare at. Like, I would actually love to own a painting like this one. I need to check out the prices, see if I can get one. Look at this leg here. He even expresses the reflected light, which is something I'm going to show you in more detail in a moment. But here, a bit of that warmth. Okay, now let's zoom out again and take it all in. A couple of figures that are really up in the front. You can tell all of their details. You have the market stalls here. And then in the background, you get areas that really balance it out well, like all of this little window to see what goes on behind. It's very loose and mixed and merged together. And then this area is full of simplification of people, but individual stains of paint. Which is just genius, the way he portrays them. And I love the idea of preserving the papers white and keeping it very visible on the most lightest of parts. Like, now, doing this kind of a painting in this large of a composition, still getting it right that way, that every small part is fascinating to watch, is something really special, because every single figure I look at looks incredible, even expressed. Like, look at this guy here. Just a small shadow and hint for the eye socket, and then the nose and the rest of the face in the shadow. Maybe he has like this loose tie. I don't know what it is exactly. Maybe it's the backpack of this dude, probably. Yeah, and it's just wow. This is all I have to say, and I had to start with this one. Now, if I'm actually going to talk about every painting as much as I want, this video is going to be like 2 hours long, so we're not going to do that, but I will talk about the highlights of what I think is important. Now, one thing in watercolor that's fairly challenging is preserving the color saturation when necessary, because the more you layer, the more you add, the more you lose it. If you layer just a thin glaze of blue, then a thin glaze of kind of reddish purple blue, then a bit of yellow, you get brown or gray essentially. And his ability to put the right color in the right value on the first go is really incredible. It is very unique. And this is the play we always have to do with watercolor. If you paint acrylics or oils, you can see what the paint will look like on paper. And that's the final version of it, or you can always layer on top of it. But with watercolor, not so much, because you have to understand, is this final? What I'm putting right now, is this the final paint? Because then I really have to mix the right one. Is it going to be glazed by something else? Then you have to start planning. Do I want to glaze it with a warmer color, with a cooler color? So much planning involved. And look at his colors. It's just fantastic. Everything is saturated in the right amount. It's genius, really. Very often when I darken things, I will lose some of the warmth because I inevitably use a lot of blue. But look at these. It's just so clever. Now, stacking these against the blue of the ocean really brings out the warmth of the skin tone. So you get this beautiful preservation of the warmth. Even though if you look at this color in isolation, it may be even a bit orange or purple. I don't know exactly what it is. It's hard to see in isolation. We can actually zoom in, but I don't know. It's really hard to tell. But it's just beautiful. It really is beautiful. Let's look at another one. So this one's looks a little quicker, was done a little quicker, but just notice the sense of light here. Obviously, sun shining from the left, hitting her arm, her dress, everything, her legs. It's so clever doing these yellow touches here. I can actually feel the sunlight not only on her, but also bouncing off of her. Because if you look at this area right here, and you'll see that right next to the slightly cooler background, you get touches of paint and of warm paint and light paint. And look at this, the red here. It really feels like she's reflecting back the light, and it's visible through to the distant background. It's a little more blurry. Very clever. And I think one thing to note here is his ability to capture everyday moments of people doing their thing on the phone, eating lunch. It's so cool to see. Here's another one. This is a higher quality. I just thought this was a funny one and also very accurate. Like, again, look at his skin tones. They're so clever in the way he portrays them, and it's, again, it all stacks up. The drawing is really on point, so that's one thing. The painting is really on point. The values are on point. Every one of these elements, the more you can improve them in your work, the more it will show. Look at her hat. This is really nice. This purple to blue transition. Nothing's boring, really. Everything has, and this is one of the more homogeneous paintings that I was able to find. Like, actually, the colors do seem to be pretty set. And it's just fantastic. So let's look at another one. Here's a really cool one at the beach. And again, within the warms, within the oranges, he has a bit of greens. Within the dog here that has mostly orange, again, touches of coolness. The shadow is cooler. The temperature here is genius. And it may seem easier to do than it actually is. You may look at this and think, oh, okay, so I'll just vary the color. It's not necessarily as straightforward as that. The thing has to work on a more zoomed out level. And what you see here is even when we zoom out, things still have this cohesiveness to them. These pants, even though they have a lot of variation, they're still green. And they stand out a lot from the background. This person's shirt and pants, they really do have their own thing going, and very interesting if you zoom in on. But once you zoom out, it still works in the grand scheme of things. So this is another very important thing to have in mind: how it works from afar and from up close. Here's another really cool one. I love these daily scenes, and it's so good. Like, if we zoom back out enough, it will look like a picture. It will look like a photo. So his light and shadow transitions here, you can get a lot of, you can see a lot of variation in edges as well. So if you look at this part, it's a very sharp shadow, but then here it gets a little gradual because this part of the leg is rounder. Okay, so you get this gradual transition. Here at the knee, we tend to have this sharp transition from one plane to another, so you get a very sharp transition in the shadow as well. The shadow describes the surface of the subject. Here's another one, sharp shadow here, but then it's a bit blurry there. And it's these small touches that you may not even think about, but they do clarify things in your brain without you even being aware of it. Same for this edge. You see how the roundedness of it is conveyed, and probably this is a part of why he blended this edge as well. This is her cast shadow, but then it gets a little rounder and smoother next to the transition. And again, only in this section you get this strong orange, then a mix of colors, then some blue, then a more Persian blue, I guess. All of this variation, just lovely. And look at this. I love how some of the paint leaked out. It would be interesting for me to see his work process. I'm really curious to see how he achieves these results. I will look for videos. I'm not sure he has some. He has them. Now, here, with this, again, simplicity is key. And he got this done perfectly. We're looking against the light, so all the background is light and hazy, but the woman and the two dogs are strong and dark and saturated. Now, if you look at the temperature, there's a lot of bouncing light. So when imagine you're walking on the beach and your legs, your feet, they touch the hot sand, and the sand is very light as well. So think about all the light that hits the ground and bounces back up. So this is a very common phenomenon. Like people actually can get tanned from snow, or even sunburned from snow, because it's so reflective and it's so bright. So the same goes for this ground, and you have to convey it in your painting if you want to express that kind of a thing, a temperature change. And he does here. Look at this. The dog here starts blue and very cool, and then at the bottom it's warmer. Same for her legs. You see this is blue, but this edge is a little more exposed maybe to the light, so it's a little yellower, and the feet are a little warmer. This dog, you can really tell. You can really see the transition from purple to yellow, and it's not as obvious as the top of the dog is warm and the bottom is cool. It is not as obvious as that. You could say the thing that's closer to the sun, I'm going to use warm colors. The things that's farther, I'm going to use cool colors, and that will work. But sometimes if you observe the scene very carefully and you notice an extra nuance you haven't before, it can make a big difference. And I think he really nailed this one down. Maybe he noticed that the bottom is really warm and he exaggerated that. So I think that's a really key thing to do. Here's another one, really, really nice contrast, and the ocean and the beach are perfect for these kinds of things, because you really do get a beautiful color harmony with the skin tones that are orange and pink, and with the sea that's blue. And very nice composition as well, putting this wall he's standing on very low down, getting the person in, and also these mountains, or the thing at a distance. These are all deliberate decisions. You have to understand it's not really random. There's a reason why he chose to frame the painting that way, and I think it goes to show you how much further you can get with more planning, more careful deliberance, and so on. Let's move on to another one. This is really nice, and it's a really high quality photo. He even got the reflection. If you look at this right here, this is crazy. Now, I bet he's painting from photos. I can't see anyone producing this plein air, although I won't say it's impossible. Obviously, it's possible if the model sits there for a while and it's cooperation. It's not a random person. But yeah, this is just stunning. I love this sharp shadow from the head with the light coming from the side, the bag, within everything. Like, look at this warmth here. I imagine that the light actually gets into the bag and you can see through it almost, because it's a thin paper bag maybe or something like that. The negative painting around the table, that can be a nightmare, but he got it down really, really nicely. So this is actually one of my favorites. I just don't want to repeat myself, so I'm trying to keep this succinct. Here's another one that's definitely at my top. I could not find a higher quality photo, unfortunately, but hopefully this is enough to show you the details. It's just fantastic. Look at how much the figures have a sense of light to them, in that he does not push them too dark. So you barely get any shadow that's as dark as the background. Okay, so it's just so good. Look at this, the blue shirt here and the warm skin tone. This is really, really photorealistic, I have to say. Had he painted it larger, maybe, or maybe the resolution was better, this is really photorealistic in a way. But still with a hint of expressionism in the colors, which I love. I even got this dude walking there in the background. That's really cool. So here's another one. I think this is the one before the last. These all, by the way, have interesting names. Like this one's called Smoking in the Sun. Just getting those day-to-day moments. Now, when you have something light as this fabric here, you can actually play around with the values a lot, because when something is light and white, a lot of different colors can bounce off of it. It's really affected by the environment. So maybe this blue is reflected by this blue shirt. Maybe this warmth is from the light. You don't know exactly what it is, but every scene has a lot of bounce light, and he's a real master of conveying that. I think it's a huge part of why these paintings are so good. And I want to wrap up with this one. It's called Drying, I believe. Getting Dry. The reason I wanted to end with this one is, if you look at the washes, unlike, for example, consider this one. Okay, look at all of the darkness here. You can tell that there are a few glazes here, which is fine. There's no problem with it. I'm going to show you another one with multiple, if it's going to work. I don't know why it doesn't work. It got stuck. But in any case, I don't know. This one, if you compare it to the rest, oh, here we go. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this one in particular, look at how many glazes it probably took to get this. I don't know, maybe 2, maybe 1.5, maybe 3. I don't know. But with the last one, it's so fresh. These were all done like in one go. There's no glaze here. It's just one wash for the sky. Here maybe there were 2, but it looks to me like he got them in one go. Cutting around the shapes of the hats and just beautiful work. These taillights, just one go, red, orange. Here it bounced it out, so nothing is repetitive. The people, their washes, it's just in one go. That's incredible to see. That really is probably, together with the first one I showed you, and the woman that I just showed you sitting in a cafe or at a table, are my top 3 from this one for sure. It's just so good seeing this. This has a lot of plein air qualities, but I don't think it was done plein air. This kind of a thing where you separate the different sections of the painting in order to get it in one go and not to blend together because you're limited in time. It's a very plein air quality. The immediate washes, the immediate lines, a lot of negative painting. These are very, I don't know, they're just incredible in the true sense of the word, because it's hard to believe that this was not done plein air. Maybe it was, I don't know. But I think this is a perfect one to wrap it up with. I really do hope you enjoyed this one. Usually when it's an artist, I love their paintings so much. I have so much to talk about, so I try to keep it still interesting. I know that if the videos are don't require you to look and you can just listen, then yes, people will listen to longer videos. But with these kinds of videos, you actually have to sit in front of the screen or hold your phone. I'm trying to get them to be, to the point as much as I can, not ramble too much like the videos I listen to when I wash the dishes or something like this. But in any case, I truly hope you enjoyed this one. If you have any kind of feedback for this series, for these videos, let me know. Obviously, if there are any artists you want me to cover. Now let's wrap it up quickly, face to face. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this one. Just beautiful work. Absolutely beautiful, stunning colors. Really among my favorite styles. Probably as a finished look, it's really up there at the top of what I like to see. And also what I like to create in a way. So in any case, I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget, let me know in a comment down below who you want me to feature. All of the videos so far have been or stemmed from your suggestions. I have a huge list and I keep adding more and more artists to it because I definitely want to share more with you. Let me know in a comment down below. Leave a like and a comment regardless if you enjoyed this video. I really appreciate it, and it helps more people find the videos and the channel. And tune in because I have a bunch of other videos like this one coming up soon. So thank you so much, and we'll talk again in the near future.